Hello and welcome to iGCSE Success. If you're new here, big hello to you. I'm an English teacher and I post content here on YouTube to prepare students for their Cambridge First Language English exam. And if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to check out the videos on my channel because I post videos breaking down some of the core skills needed to succeed with First Language English. I should just get rid of that intro. So I hope you are all doing well. I just wanted to really jump on quickly and I guess do a part two to my video which I uploaded a couple of days ago, which looks at what you need to do to, I guess, produce a successful piece of narrative writing. One of the things I said in my video was take the ordinary, take what you've experienced and make that interesting. And one thing, no doubt, you have all experienced, I guess, sporadically throughout the year is taking some sort of formal assessment in some big, uninviting examination hall. So I've taken that and I've turned it into a simple yet effective narrative. And I've given myself a little task or a little title, and that is write about a time when you felt nervous. So let's take a read of it and discuss what is effective about it. Write about a time when you felt nervous. It was time. The unforgiving door swung open, revealing the examination hall. One by one, we were ushered in like vulnerable lambs to the slaughter. The fear felt by most was palpable and seemed to suffocate the entire hall. Today was the day where my destiny was to be decided. 5 years of learning about the Bard and Macbeth, it all came down to this one pivotal moment. Having finally found my seat, I reluctantly took my place. Small trickles of sweat began to delicately fall from my brow. Anxiously waiting, I noticed that the hall had been fashioned with garish banners haphazardly hanging from the ceiling, with various messages of good luck from teachers and parents. However, these did nothing to calm my nerves. Petrified, my attention was now drawn to the windows. My mind started to race with magical thoughts of the exam somehow being cancelled. What if the fire alarm went off? What if the lights went out? What if the wrong exam paper had been delivered? My wishful thinking was soon dampened by the harsh thud of a fist on my table that seemed to come from nowhere. "Pay attention and look straight ahead," said the odious invigilator in a harsh, regimented tone. "You have one chance and one chance only at this." The invigilator's bright purple spectacles balanced precariously on the top of her pointed nose. She scanned the hall in an aloof manner, making inaudible grunting noises as she directed anxious students to their seats. She glanced over at the big clock that hung on the front wall and began to erratically dart in and out of the neatly formed tables, pointing students to the various empty seats that were still available. There were 5 minutes left. I sat still, scared of making even the slightest of movements, and continued to observe my surroundings. The hall itself had its own ominous quality to it. The desks seemed to form a labyrinth, stretching as far as the eye could see. Hundreds of students were now contained and seated. There was no escaping from this. The lights began to flicker. Feelings of trepidation resonated throughout the hall as a formidable monster stationed herself at the front of the hall, ready to deliver further instruction. "Today's exam is English literature," she said with little enthusiasm. "You have 1 hour and 45 minutes to complete the paper. You may start now." I took one final glance at the clock and carefully turned over the page. The beads of sweat had returned. I grabbed my pen and began to plan a response. The hall was now still and quiet except for the hypnotic tick of the old plastic clock. A second invigilator passed me and greeted me with a warm, welcoming smile which seemed to erase my nerves ever so slightly. "You can do it," she said with encouragement. And so I began to pen my response to the Macbeth question. The reassuring words of the second invigilator stayed with me for the 2 months that I waited for my results. The almost interminable wait allowed me to reflect on my 5 years of being a student at high school. Everything happens for a reason, I thought to myself. I've done my very best, and so I made my journey to school for one last time to collect my envelope. I had passed with flying colours. Sorry, I missed the S. I had passed with flying colours. So despite the missing commas, which I've noticed reading it back, what makes this short story successful? Well, the opening establishes the setting straight away, and it creates quite a foreboding, quite a tense atmosphere. We've got that opening short sentence, "It was time." We've almost got the sort of personification of the doors swinging open. And we've got this sort of characterization of the narrator really struggling and almost entering the unknown. So the second paragraph, notice the sentence structures. We're not starting with that first person pronoun I all the time. We're using that ing verb. Having finally found my seat, I reluctantly took my place. There's lots of imagery. We've got the imagery of the small trickles of sweat dripping from the narrator's brow. We've got some adverb sentence starters. Again, we've got the sort of characterization being developed with the inner thoughts of the character with those rhetorical questions. We also have some direct speech to help characterize this odious invigilator. Not too much speech, it's not necessary. And then, of course, the next paragraph, we are very much focusing on this quite formidable, this quite intimidating, quite unpleasant invigilator with her spectacles balancing precariously on her pointed nose. Very much a sort of stereotypical image of a slightly older invigilator. Not that I'm saying that all invigilators are unpleasant, but certainly when I was at high school, they weren't the most welcoming of people. You always felt like you were doing something wrong. And then we go on to a description of the hall itself, it having this sort of ominous quality to it. There's this real sort of palpable sense of the size. It's described as being a labyrinth. Imagery, I've said, it's really, really important because it creates these vivid pictures in the reader's mind. And you want your imagery or your images that you use to be as realistic as possible. So hopefully you would agree that nothing is too far-fetched in this story. And then, of course, we've got the sort of second invigilator coming in just for a brief moment. We've got this juxtaposition of the rather unpleasant invigilator compared to the second one, who is far more encouraging. And then, of course, our narrator, all those nerves are for nothing because they pass with flying colours. The other thing that I wanted to mention, vocabulary. There are certainly lots of, I guess, what Cambridge would classify as ambitious vocabulary or effective vocabulary. You've got that adverb haphazardly, you've got that adjective garish, you've got that adverb erratically, you've got that adjective formidable, that verb station. So all of these adjectives, these verbs, these adverbs are really, really quite important, and you want to think carefully about your vocabulary and how you can use it to effectively improve your descriptions of your setting and indeed your characters in your story. That's all for today, guys. As always, leave your feedback in the comments below and I will see you again very soon. Until next time, bye bye.